Hi, Aries, Sun and Rising. Welcome to your May 2021 Astro Update. It's Raina here. And so the month of May is really concentrated with Gemini energy. And because we're talking about personal planets here, it does make sense that that would be the case because as the month begins, the sun is in Taurus, and Taurus is right next to Gemini. So it's not unusual in that sense of the word. But because there's going to be a Mercury retrograde in its own sign, that really is an important factor in all of what is happening. And because you are the template for the universal chart, in other words, when we talk about what house is represented by what sign, the Aries model is, because you're the first sign, so you're the model for the chart. And so these transits, you have the signs, the planets that rule a certain house actually being in that house. So that really concentrates or emphasizes that particular influence. For instance, as the month begins, Mercury, the Mercury one doesn't matter, but the Venus is in Taurus. Now, Venus is ruled by Taurus, and Taurus rules the second house. So you have, for the first 8 days, Venus in its own house, in its own sign, and but you also have Mercury in the second house of earned income. This is for the first 3 days of the month, and the sun is there too. So as the month begins, there is a concentration in the area of the money that you earn. And we have a new moon here on the 11th. So the point being, Aries, that you may be thinking about your earning power. But it may be at a deeper level because the second house can be your self-esteem, your sense of self-worth. And, some Aries people will say, oh, well, of course I know that my self-esteem isn't tied to how much money I make. But you would be surprised how the ego can worm its way into so many different situations. And the person really taking pride in owning certain possessions, which can be the second house, and feeling like that makes them a success, like that shows that they have skills, talents, whatever you want to call it. But, if you've had certain personal situations in your life that have made that kind of elusive lately, then it's possible that you are thinking about these things, maybe not feeling good about them, but trying to kind of put them into perspective. I definitely believe that, some Aries people may think like that only because you're a very competitive type of person. So you want to have maybe the latest things, the brightest, shiniest objects, and that makes you feel that you are number one, first house. So thinking about those things, and there have been Aries people who have gone through a lot in their life ever since Pluto went into Capricorn, I would say. Specifically, of course, that would be your 10th house of career. I just know this. Sometimes it can be a fall from grace with Pluto in the 10th. And likewise, you have had Chiron in your sign for I don't know how long, maybe a couple years, something like that. And that can create a certain sensitivity. If it's forming a conjunction with your sun, your sense of self. But that can actually be good for you because it can humble you. It can make you more, caring of other people and what they're going through, and not quick to judge them in terms of like assuming that they just didn't try hard enough or what have you. There can be a lot that you gain in terms of sensitivity. A lot of people accuse Aries of being insensitive to others, towards others. And I would tend to agree, but I've met some Aries people that were very, they seemed very delightful. I'm not saying the other ones were horrible people, but I mean, that bluntness sometimes can come across as being kind of harsh. I'm a Sag. I feel your pain. And I resemble those remarks myself, But I think that some of you are getting a lesson in humility and in empathy at the deepest of levels, I should say. So on the 3rd, Mercury goes into Gemini, into that chatty Cathy area where it rules. So it's in its domain. And this is obviously going to set you into all kinds of like little, maybe getting back with people that you've avoided, doing errands. This is your local area. This can be, communicating with your siblings more. Just something that is documents and, paperwork, teaching, learning is a big one. On the 8th, Venus goes here, earning money through the mind, through teaching, learning, writing, communicating. This can be meeting somebody online, because online can be a part of the 3rd house in terms of how we communicate. So an online love site, maybe you sign up for that. And Mars is in Cancer all month long. Now, there's another cardinal sign, so we're talking about an area that's an angular house. So in this case, we're talking about the 4th house of home and family. There can be a war going on with parents, family of origin. So some kind of conflict. You could be doing a rehab on your home, or having construction workers there. That can be Mars in the 4th. On the 11th, there's a new moon at 21 degrees of Taurus. And so this new moon is in your money sector. And that may speak of new beginnings in terms of how you make money, different income stream to make additional money, that sort of thing. On the 13th, Jupiter goes into Pisces. I'm going to be doing a special extended reading about this. I've done a couple signs thus far, so I'm not going to get too far into it here. But since this is Pisces, for you it's the 12th house. And so anything that is connected to past lives and things of that nature, that might be right up your alley. Something that you really enjoy thinking about. On the 20th, there's more to it, but it's going to be only there for a few months. And it's going to go back into Aquarius for the rest of the year. But still, it's going to have an influence for a few months. And this can also be some kind of divine protection from the 12th house. It's kind of a hidden type of divine protection. On the 20th, the sun goes into Gemini. The sun goes into that 3rd house. So we're starting to see these planets migrating to the 4th. To the 3rd. And so this can, if you're assuming a job that has an intellectual angle that deals with communication, this could be indicative of that. On the 23rd, we have Saturn retrograde at 13 degrees of Aquarius. This is the 11th house, and this can deal with... This is a house of hopes and wishes, and believe it or not, when Saturn goes retrograde, this can actually bring one of those, or maybe more, who knows, goals to fruition if you have worked for it. So if something has felt out of your grasp and you have been trying to, get it off the ground, this can be the time when it happens, believe it or not. In general, a Saturn retrograde can make things much harder to accomplish with your goals because it being in retrograde. But it can also, you may not even have the discipline to do it, so you may become more lax about whatever it is. But it can have that good, karma. Since it's a lord of karma, there can be good karma associated with it if you have done the work that it takes, that is. And this is an idealistic area in the sense that this is the house of the collective. And so the wishes for us as a whole can also be coming into effect. So if you are somebody who works in a field especially that is connected with humanitarian endeavors, you may have more work to do. And that may be what you have to put into motion, is kind of like making sure that everything is firmed up and is viable. On the 26th, we have a lunar eclipse at 5 degrees of Sagittarius in the 9th house. And this is the area that Sag rules. Just like I said, you're the universal template. And it's a lunar eclipse, so there can be some kind of like interior stuff going on. Maybe you're realizing, this is like self-realization for you, where you're realizing certain things about how you view life. This is a house of philosophy, in part. And this can be like some kind of aha moment. You may experience a cosmic download or something along those lines that illuminates your path. This very powerful full moon. And I would say in general, anybody with a lunar eclipse in the 9th house is going to maybe get rid of an outmoded personal philosophy and, belief system. So on the 29th, Mercury goes retrograde at 24 degrees of Gemini. So in that 7th house for you, oh no, not 7th, 3rd house. In that 3rd house, Mercury in its own house, this can be a situation where you have like paperwork. Oh yeah, here's something. Because the 9th house can be like long distance travel. So the 3rd house can be like you getting some kind of passports or documentation that you need. If it's something to do with, becoming a naturalized citizen or whatever you want to call it, green cards and immigration papers, what have you. That can all be experiencing delays. Maybe you discover that you never filed something that you needed, and those kinds of things. So expect some kind of snafu. And usually I don't say expect something, negative to occur. The reason I'm saying this to you now, Aries, is because if you're listening in April, maybe you can check it right now, and then you'll be prepared for the future. So I just want to let you know that there is a Mercury retrograde in this area that can deal with paperwork and things of that nature, and that could be tricky if you're, doing a lot of things, buying a house or selling a house or signing a lease, the fine print, read the fine print, all of that good stuff. You may hear back from someone from your past. Anybody can, but boy, when you have it in your third house, that's for sure. So, wow. Okay. Well, it's a jam-packed month. No question about it. Whenever we have eclipses, there can be some jolts to certain areas of our life, and yet they can bring in much needed change. So that can be a good thing. So I hope that this resonated. If you would like a personal reading, I have double readings that I'm offering now to give more in-depth, information or interpretation. And one is a deep dive, double chart reading, and one involves the chart and a tarot reading called the whole enchilada. And they're for special prices. And I have other readings as well at the link below. Thank you for listening. Take care. Bye.